All right, everybody, welcome back to another Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. We're here most every weekday, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. Eastern Time, talking coffee with your Coffee Q&A. But today we're not talking coffee. Today we're talking tea because I received a message from a friend of mine, Ted Vogel, down in Carolinas, and he was like, hey, I want to learn more about Tibetan tea. And I was like, well, I have no idea what Tibetan tea is, actually. I've never even heard of it. But I was thinking, all right, maybe we'll make a video about it. But then if I make a mainline video for the channel, at the rate that we're going, it'll take months before that can ever come out. Plus, I'd have to research it more. And so for the live stream, we're just going to go. I looked up some recipes and let's go do it. We're going to talk about it. So Tibet, of course, is a province of China that is basically in Western China, southwestern, or the southern border. So it's on the southern border of Western China, that is just north of Bhutan and Nepal, and so it's all in the Himalayas. You know that whole thing. Kyone, aloha to you, man. Good to see you, Mom. Good morning as well, and so, you know, of course, the people there live in mountains and whatnot, and a little bit more, I guess, rustic kind of living, or at least just traditionally. And they make something called butter tea. And butter tea is this type of tea that they mix tea with some of their yak butter. And yaks, from my understanding, have a very salty milk. I guess kind of like camel's milk, but perhaps not as salty. I mean, camel milk's pretty salty from what I've tasted. But they make a butter out of it, and then they mix the butter with the tea, and then that's it. And so what they do, they put it into like a churner, you know, in those butter churners, and they churn it up. That's the traditional way of doing it. And I guess that emulsifies the mixture of their tea, and then they pour it out and drink it. And the recipes that I looked up for this, it was, you know, use a dark tea, a black tea. And as I was looking it up online, I was reading something about the Tibetan tea, because there's something they have a particular tea they call Tibetan tea, and Tibetan tea is, I mean, the actual leaf. And so the leaves. Peter's with us. Hello to you, man. Good to see you, Peter. And Rusty's with us. Good morning to you, Rusty. And this Tibetan tea, they have something that's called a hecha, which is a dark tea that they actually bind together. They kind of press it together, right? So I'm presuming it's some sort of oolong style tea that's more oxidized to get that darkerness. And then what they do is that they'll compress it, similar to what they do for pu'erh. They'll compress it, and then for the really fine quality, the jijian teas, they're going to take those little compressed cakes and they wrap them in, I guess, like cow skin, like leather, you know, or something like that, to hides. They wrap them in hides to protect them. And then they, like pu'erhs, they can be aged for a considerable amount of time. But I have no idea where to get that, like, you know, from last night to this morning. I was like, oh, I have no idea where to get that. I mean, I think there are some sources online to order this type of tea, but what I do have here is this organic bold pu'erh. This is broken down into leaf. This is actually made by, I picked it up at the local Wegmans. I just have this around, and it's a decent quality tea. It's made by a company called Rishi Tea in Milwaukee. And, you know, they're a nice specialty tea company. And this one has already been leaf, so it's not been compressed into cakes. I don't know if it's something where it has been compressed into cake or it's not. But let's show you some of this. Oh yeah, this does not look like it's been compressed. So we have this here. There's our tea, just nice pu'erh. Peter says, like bulletproof coffee, butter coffee. Yeah, I think there's a very large similarity between the two processes because, you know, my brother was making bulletproof coffee for a while. I don't really know how he was making it because I never really studied the bullet, but I know he was putting butter and turmeric and all this stuff and then putting it in a blender. And we're kind of going to do similar process with that to simulate the churning. So first off, we're going to get some water to make this. I've got my little burner here. I've got some water. And what we need is, we need 4 cups of water. So I'm going to turn the heat on. Okay, good. We need 4 cups of water, which is about 16 ounces, right? If we're going to ratio 4 ounces per cup, so that should be about 16. Maybe that's a little bit too much. That's about right. I don't think we necessarily need to be as precise. However, what we're going to do a little more precision is we want to be a little bit precise with our quantity. So I've got our little scale here. Let me zoom in a little bit here for you just while we do this. All right, so what we need is 6 grams. 6 grams of coffee, of tea, 3.5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 9, 5, something. Oh, don't touch that. 5.8. This is a nice little scale by a company, 6 grams, 6 grams. This is a scale by a company called AWS. You can find these on Amazon or very similar to it for like maybe 15 to 20, 25 bucks at the most. Really great little scale. It actually has a range up to 2,000 grams, so 2 kilo maximum weight. And the great thing about this, it has a 0.10 gram resolution. So it's got great resolution, especially for coffee, tea applications. You can be a little bit more precise, which I like. But you're not going to spend. But these things, they're reasonably accurate. I haven't really put a calibration weight on it in a while, but for the price, it's great. I've actually had this one since 2011, so it's worked really well. And I just keep it around the house where I can utilize it and enjoy its use here. All right, let's see where we are with this. Okay. Oh, that's all right. We'll leave that. We'll leave that angle. So how's everyone doing? Everything's been good? Just to let you know, a little housekeeping, this will be the last live stream on the Coffee Q&A this week. We'll return on Monday. Tomorrow I'll be traveling to Ridgewood, New Jersey, because on the Coffee and Cigars live stream on the Ono Live channel that starts tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing our 200th episode celebration at the tobacco shop Ridgewood. So I've got to pack everything up and head out in the morning to get up there in time. I found this place called, what's it called? There's a hot dog joint in New Jersey somewhere that I was thinking, you know what? I need to stop by and check it out. What's it called? There's a place, let me see here. While we're waiting for the water to boil, So what I do is I kind of put in my Google Maps, I basically put these pins of places that I want to go visit. As I hear about them, I just plug them in. And so where's up here? Yeah, there it is right there. This place right here. A place, oh, that one. That's for the return drive home. Oh, here it is. Here, more in central New Jersey, there is a place close to East Rutherford and Passaic. Rutt's Hut. Rutt's Hut is a hot dog joint. Hot dog restaurant, and I put some. So it says here, is this the best hot dog in America? Fried hot dogs with varying degrees of frying. This place evidently fries their hot dogs, and I'm not a hot dog fan. Like I really don't like hot dogs. Like we were at my cousin's 4th of July party, and one of their cousins, he's like, yeah, I love. You need some hot dogs? We got a whole bunch of hot dogs, and I was like, no, dude, I'll have one hot dog. They were making Nathan's, and Nathan's to me is a little bit on the too much sodium. Like I can't imagine these guys at the Nathan's, competition. They're eating 70 of these. I'm like, oh my God, man, that's just too much. For hot dogs, for me, I love Sabrett. Give me Sabrett, that New York style dog. I'll take it in the dirty water, but prefer to have it from the halal guy who has the grill, because you grill the Sabrett and the casing they make for it is super beautifully crisp when you grill it. Once I learned about that many years ago, I was like, oh, I'll never have if I can get it, I'll only have Sabrett with like grilled dogs. So something to consider. Keone says, tomorrow morning, I'll be going to the Bangkok Coffee Festival. Oh, awesome. ODZ will be there with some limited, some of those Benjarong drippers. Oh, that's amazing. Tell them I'm waiting for them to message me when they're ready here in the U.S. because I would like to buy one. Where is that being held, the coffee festival? I'm guessing at some big place. Have you been to Wan Coffee Roasters? I'm interested to know if you go, let me know what you think about it, because I went, and of course I found out that I knew the owner, Don, and so when you know somebody, your whole experience changes, right? It's not going to be the same as someone that may be just a regular person that they don't know, and and that's one thing when I go to visit coffee shops on the videos on the main channel. It's like I would like to be unknown, right, to them, because I would like to have the experience as someone that is just a regular person. Now, of course, you walk into a place and you're carrying a video camera or a camera, and you're obviously shooting. So that's gonna change the interaction already. But if they don't know you, then hopefully you'll have it as much of a natural experience as possible. And that's really what I try to capture. Impact Center, haven't been there yet, but will soon. Oh, nice. Oh, that would be very kind of you. If you don't mind, I think they're kind of expensive. I wouldn't want to impose on that. Or just let them know that I'm ready for it. All right, still taking time to boil. I don't know if it takes longer to boil in an open pan versus the kettle that I have. I mean, I've got it. Oh, no wonder. Only the center burners were rolling. No wonder it's been taking so long. I had the same problem with the heater that I have outside. It got a little bit rained on because we had a thunderstorm the day before. So I was trying to cook on it yesterday, but I forgot to put it away, and so the whole unit was kind of wet. So I think there's water, clogging a lot of the ports. So after a couple moments of trying it and getting all these, basically whatever was happening, there was leaking happening below the carriage. So I was getting flashes underneath. I was like, oh, I better not bother with that. I'll just cook the pork chops inside. All right, there we go. Getting better, getting closer to the boiling point. All right. But the tea, so the pu'ers come in you can get pu'er as a cake, right? And so I was talking to a friend of mine, even this is years ago now, we were talking about this. One of my good friends is Ravi Croson from, he now owns a place called Pu'erh Tea in Portland, Oregon. He's amazing tea guy, right? He's got a lot of a lot of connections and really well-versed. I met him years ago and we became friends. Okay, so now we're boiling. We're going to put the tea in. We're going to let it boil. We're going to let that boil for 4 minutes. Right? Maybe we'll turn down the heat just a bit. We don't necessarily need to have it a rolling boil, just a little bit boiling. And now, why am I boiling it? Normally I would not continue to put flame on the water as the tea is brewing. But I will this time, because from what I've seen from Tibetan people, this is what they do. And I have to actually contact some Tibetan people that I know and be like, hey man, how do I really make this correctly? Is this really the right way to do it? I think actually they run for 5 or 6 minutes, and you can go longer with it. I just worry that, you go too long with the tea extraction and it starts to make it a little more bitter. Now, I did see one variation where the person was talking about, okay, you take this and you go really deep with it. You go higher on the concentration, the ratio of tea to water, and then you make a concentration, and then you can easily make this. You have this little, like how cold brew does, you add water to it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But Peter says, do a stream on masala chai with butter. Oh, with butter. Maybe we'll do that. There's masala, because many years ago, I really thought I was really kind of a little bit of an ignorant snob in that I was like, oh, masala chai is an abomination, right? I was like, what's all this stuff in it? And then, of course, through the time of operating Spro, people would ask for it. It's like, well, and at first I was balking at it, but it's like, people want it, they want it. Let's make something really exciting. So I talked to a bunch of people and we worked with some grandmothers, right, to get this recipe that we have is, I think, really wonderful. And we produced it for many, many years, and we'll probably produce it again with the new shop. And yeah, that would be good. That'd be fun, kind of fun to bring back some of the masala chai. And the crazy thing, my problem is that it's like, there's a level of psychosis that I suffer under, in that if we're going to do something, we want to do it as best as we possibly can. So it's like, we must select the right quality of spice. God, it's really terrible. I was working on this recipe for almond cookies yesterday, and I was thinking, I wrote a little post about it on my Facebook page, and I was like, the rabbit hole is that, okay, we need almond flour, we need regular flour, we need sugar or confection sugar. Like there is a part of me that wonders, okay, what kind of I was using for the test run, I was using Bob's Red Mill. And I was like, oh, maybe we need to source our own almonds and roast them ourselves to get the right roast degree and the right moisture content, and then mill it ourselves. And then maybe instead of using, Sir Galahad or the King Arthur regular red bag, maybe we need to find local wheat and mill that. It's like, oh yeah, you can't. Like, yeah, you can go crazy with all of this, and so I think there has to be a point where you have to be a little bit careful. All right, let's see here. There it is. It's getting nice and dark. We're almost to the end of the 4 minutes. Oh, Kieran says that I will see what they have. Oh, thank you. I'll be going to Sacramento to judge the George Naope hula competition next week. Oh, wow. That would be epic. That would be epic. I would like to go to the George Naope competition. Uncle George, like my kumu hula is a guy, Michael De La Cruz, and Uncle Michael was very, very close to Uncle George, especially like later in the years. And actually, he received his uniki from him eventually. And I remember Uncle George would come, like we would stay at his house in Kona, and then we'd be there with Uncle George and Auntie Eva Kalima. And it was really a beautiful, amazing time. But I remember Uncle George would like be hanging out. We'd be hanging out with him, and he would be talking. And I remember like sometimes, Uncle George would just be kind of mumbling about things. He'd be like, boy, blah, 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 blah. And you're trying, and I'm sitting next to him trying to listen intently, like respectful and like listening. And sometimes you just can't understand what he's saying. Like it's just so difficult to understand, right? And I remember, and sometimes you just kind of have to figure out, like, oh yeah, Uncle. Okay. Right on, Uncle. And every once in a while you throw in a laugh, right? Just because you're trying to be respectful and listen. And I remember one day I was doing that and I was listening. I can't really understand what he's saying. And he's talking about something. And I'm like, oh yeah, Uncle. Okay. Right on, Uncle. Okay. And I was about to inject one of the laughter inflections, right? And then I caught it. He had said something about someone make, and in Hawaiian, make means that the person died, and it's a sad moment. And to laugh at that would be completely inappropriate. And I remember he was like, I was just about to put it in the laughter. I was like, oh. And then it clicked in my mind. I was like, oh yeah, Uncle. I'm so sorry, Uncle. So, oh my gosh, such good time. But I do miss him. So that's awesome. You'd be judging. So are you judging the actual hula competition itself? The dancing part of it, or another aspect of it? All right, so we've got this done now. Now what we need to do is we need to transfer. We're going to transfer our tea into, we're going to transfer it into the blender. We got a blender here, and you really should use a strainer, right? That strainer would be the best way to go with it. But I forgot my strainer. Well, maybe there's one over here. Let me go have a look while we are here. Let me put this here so you can see the tea while I have a peek to see if I can grab a strainer, if I have a strainer in this box nearby. This is one of the problems with still being in a mode of you're trying to move everything and everything's still stored away, that you may not have all of the normal tools available to you. It's somewhat irritating. Oh, here we go. All right, excellent. We've got a strainer here. So, Kiona, don't tell Auntie Eva what I told you here, because otherwise I'll get the slipper. That's how she'd be teaching us, different hula, and here comes the slipper. All right, so we're going to pour this in here and strain it out. So we've got a nice deep elixir of tea. Now, what else do we need for this? We're going to need some butter. So we need 2 tablespoons of butter. Oh, the competition itself. Excellent, excellent. Put that in there. Okay, we have 2 tablespoons of butter. What else do we need? We need some, salt, you know, the yak butter evidently is salty, so we need a little bit of salt. So I've got some of my favorite salt. This is a San Marino sea salt from Italy. We're just gonna take a pinch, 1/4 teaspoon. And then we need a little bit of milk. So we're gonna add some of this milk there. There we go, milk. We're gonna let the heat melt the butter. That's not yak's butter. No, yeah, definitely not yak's butter. Like, I would not even know where to get yak's butter here yet. I will have to research more and see if we have Tibetan markets nearby. Like, I've seen some Tibetan, like a temple, I think it is, because they had the flags, well, whatever. I'm not sure what they call them, but the flags that they have, you know, that you see like from the Mount Everest base camp stuff. There's a place downtown that has that, so I could probably ask them, hey, where can I get Tibetan stuff? And as you can see, there's the globules of the butter fat are floating on top. So we've got this situation where we want to incorporate all of that into the tea instead of having it float on top. So we're going to use the blender to shear this in. But we're going to wait for it to melt completely before we start to do that. Probably is better if I had made 2 slices of tablespoon each as opposed to 1 slice. Devin's with us. How are you, Devin? You have to try it with anaerobic. If you don't like that kind of coffee, you'll really not like. Well, when you say anaerobic, like what kind of flavor characteristics are you thinking about when it comes to anaerobic coffees? I've had quite a number of different anaerobics over the years. So, and the results have been like the first anaerobics that we first started playing with back in 2014, about 10 years already, were had very blue. Like we did the lactic fermentation to the point where we had like heavy blue cheese characters, right? And then a lot of the anaerobic stuff that I've tasted in more recent times that are, you know, from the more darling of the roasters in the world, they tend to have very different characteristics. So I'm interested to know, when you say anaerobic, what style of flavor profile do you have in mind? All right, let's get our blender out here. So I've got the Blend Tech. This is the Blend Tech. The reason I have the Blend Tech is because it's a leftover Blend Tech that we used at the shop for quite a number of years ago. Here it is, Blend Tech. Kind of an awesome blender, but I do not recommend, if you wanted to get a blender for home, I would not recommend this for home. Like, Blend Techs are great. They're really designed for, well, at least this generation, really designed for drink making, right? If you can program these. Can you see that here? You can have to be careful because this lid is going to hit the camera. But you can, you know, program these numbers to different blend timings and different blend profiles. But unlike a Vitamix, or not the Vitamix, but the Vita Prep, where you have the variable control, I find the Vita Prep for most, like if you're going to buy a hardcore blender, I like the Vita Prep for home use. Something a little bit cheaper is the Waring Commercial. That's a pretty good one. This is solid. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. And I expect this to blend the heck out of this. So let us put this on here. And there we go. So we got the lid on, and we've got this thing here. The nice thing about the what do you call it? The Blend Tech, especially with this noise shroud, is that it helps to reduce the noise, but it also holds down the lid, right? So it won't pop. Okay, is it on? I think it's on now. Okay, good. I don't remember what the settings are on this anymore. We didn't really use them for making drinks. We never made frappes, so we just use it for random stuff. Probably a bit longer. says it's not from the flavor from anaerobic process in general. Okay. I want it to be a little bit harder. Like this is designed, these programmers they're slowed because it's expecting to have ice in it, so you're breaking up the ice and then it spins up faster. This is one where we want to get a frothy effect on the blending. Not bad. All right, so let us take this out. Let me see. Ooh. Got all this cables flying everywhere. All right, let's just take that here. It's a bit on these commercial ones are a bit unwieldy for use here in the house. But as you can see, there is some frothing happening, right? There is, 2 layers. Let's have a look here and see. Oh, nice. We're gonna get our little container and pour it out. It all fits nicely. All right, so we've got that there. Rinse that out later. Okay, so here is our elixir, right? You can see the frothiness on the top and the separation. For tea, it smells kind of weird a little bit. You can smell the butteriness, a little bit of the saltiness on the nose. I'm going to get some teacups here. These are the Ramakiens, which I know these are from Thailand. Keone was kind enough to send these, but I know they're not Tibetan, but I don't have any Tibetan teacups. So we're going to have to get close. And Thailand's not terribly far. It's closer than, other parts. All right, so let's pour this in here. There it is. All right, let's have a taste. Oh. Interesting. Not bad. Like, honestly, I was kind of wondering what's it going to taste like. Like we're putting salt into tea. And when we think about people talking about things like with salt and salty teas, I think it's salty with tea. Like I realize that you can use salt to enhance flavor. So just a little bit of salt will pop the flavor. This one we only put a little bit, so it's not very. The saltiness is not pronounced. It's more the butteriness is pronounced. It reminds me of, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of eating Maryland-style crabs with butter, right? So we have blue crabs here in Maryland, and we steam them with this thing like what we call Old Bay. The generic term that we use is Old Bay, even though there is an Old Bay. But there's a whole world of, here in Maryland, that Old Bay style of seasoning, there's a whole bunch of companies that make a whole world within that realm of different types of crab seasonings. When you break it all open, you take the meat out and you dip with butter. This is what it reminds me of. This flavor experience that I'm having at the moment reminds me of that. It's buttery, it's savory, it's got this unctuousness. There is a light saltiness. I think did someone say about using Himalayan pink salt? Probably should use that. I don't know where my box of Himalayan pink salt is. I got this whole tub from Home Goods one year. Super finely powdered Himalayan pink salt. Lovely. I would use it in making pau de queijo for a while. It's very interesting. It's very buttery. Kind of like maybe the butteriness that you get. Another correlation might be with, when you go to the movies, you get a lot of butter on the butter sauce on your popcorn. Kind of like that. There's that butteriness is like that. probably because of the milkiness too. I think though the way that we made it today, and I don't think our ratios were really off. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've never had the tea in its original form anywhere in the world. So, and I've not been to Tibet, so I don't really know what it should taste like, or I don't have a comparison for what it might taste like. So I don't know if we're close or far or whatever, but it's interesting. It's very buttery. It's very interesting. It's very different. Like, it's strange for me to drink tea that has milk and then now a very heavy butter component. Like, the butter component is very strong. That's not sweetened, right? Like, typically if I'm having tea with milk, especially a black tea with milk or red tea with milk, it's going to be a little bit sweetened. And typically in the European or the English sense of doing it. Peter says, I put a pinch of salt in some milk, add the coffee, like evaporate. Oh, all right. You know, I was just thinking about evaporated milk the other day because we're making a drink. We're making this horchata, and we kind of ran out of evaporated milk. And I was like, I was thinking, I need to look up on how evaporated milk is really made, so that in case we get into a pinch, I can make it. As opposed to spending 20 minutes running to the store and spending $2 on a can of evaporated milk. Let's spend 3 hours boiling it down or whatever it takes. You know, it's the psychosis again. All right, so this is Tibetan tea. Very buttery. Like, honestly, I think for me, for my personal taste, without having any knowledge of what it should taste like, my initial reaction is I would like to reduce the amount of butter, maybe half the amount of butter, so that the butter is very pronounced on the palate as far as what is showing up. It's overpowering the pu'erh to me. So I would, if I was to do this again, I would cut back on the butter. I might have to try it with a little bit of sweetener. Do we have sweetener? We do. I have a little bit of Maui brand natural cane sugar. So let's just give it a try. Let's see if a little bit of sweetener will enhance or detract. Perhaps it'll detract. And if you're Tibetan and you're watching this and you're probably getting mad and going to put very angry comments in the comments, I will be very understanding. It's like those people that make Filipino adobo and they put all kinds of stuff in it. Or what really gets my goat are these poke bowl places. That just really, my friends are like, hey, you want to go to get a poke? I was like, no, heck no, I don't want to go any poke place. There is no poke place that's worth my time and money. They basically have salad in a bowl, and I can make salad at home. I am kind of prejudiced in that respect. I'm sorry. Gotcha. Maybe this time we use a hashtag. Sorry, not sorry. All right, so let's have a taste. We put a little bit of this sugar in it. Doesn't change it. A little bit. It's a little more appealing to me because I like sweeter things in some respects. Actually, that works for me. However, this is still a formulation that I think overpowers the tea. Like it's really still very milky and very buttery, even though it's a little bit now it's a little bit sweet. It doesn't have a strong presence. To me, at least, I'm not sensing a strong presence of tea. I'd like to have a little more tea character in it. So if I was making it again, I would want to definitely reduce the amount of butter. Like, the butter is just it's so buttery. Like, normally that's a good thing, but to me the balance is off. Right? It's heavily butter. I don't want heavy of anything. I like balance, right? Keone says, I've not had any good or real poke on the continent. There have been I want to say there have been have I had good? No, I want to say that I have had a couple places, but I don't think I have. Like, Yeah, no. I mean, like when you get used to going in Honolulu. So those who may not be, poke is a type of. Let's just take one example. There's actually many different styles, but poke is, at its very essence, it's a way of preparing fish, raw fish. So you take your ahi, your tuna, you cube it, and then you can mix it with things with like chopped kukui nuts, or you can with some. So it all depends. It depends where you go to. Depends where, but let's say a generally acceptable formulation would be kukui nuts, Hawaiian salt, the ala salt. I like the ones that are done in the pink rather than the white. Um, Sweet onions, and what do you call it? Ogo. Japanese word is ogo. I can't remember the Hawaiian word at the moment, but basically these like twiggy looking like seaweeds. Those go in there. Maybe a little bit of shoyu, soy sauce, sesame, roasted sesame seed oil. To me, that's very important. And you mix all that together and you eat it raw, and it's so delicious. Like when it's done well, it's so beautiful. So what I've seen here on the in the mainland, where these poke bowl places, I'm so like, like I get mad. I used to get mad. I was like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." But now c'est la vie. I just don't have to go there. But if I am in the mood, you got to make it yourself. You have to make it. Yeah, I have to make it at home, because especially here, there's no real. There is one place here in Baltimore that does like plate lunch, and they're fairly good. Like it's, if you're there, all right. If I'm not too far away, I'll go, and it's pretty good. Um, I went to L&L. Was it L&L? Yeah, they opened an L&L in Virginia, and I went to that one. It was. What did I remember? I just remember, like, I'm not going to rush back to it. Like, I don't know. Anyway, we're going off in tangents here. Crazy. Kind of like ceviche. So poke is poke with no fish. Yeah, poke with no fish isn't, well, I was about to agree with you, but we do have, there are other pokés, like octopus, taco poke. What else do we have, Kelly? There's other types of poke. But yeah. If it's salad, it's like, what is this green stuff in my poke? Like, why is there leafy vegetable? I mean, no, go. The one thing is maybe the rice, right? Like there was this plate lunch joint on Atkinson by Ala Moana, and right by Kapiolani. Actually, it was Atkinson and Kapiolani in Honolulu. There's a 7-Eleven there, and there was this little tiny, I forgot the name of this shop, but years ago they would do the fried ahi poke. So they'd take the ahi poke raw, and they toss it into a hot pan, and they toss it around a couple times just to kind of sear the exterior. Serve that with rice. Oh man, so good. Actually, when I was, when you're in Honolulu or in Hawaii in general, what I'll do for lunch sometimes is you just go to the Foodland. The Foodland's good. Safeway is fine. You go into these markets, but like if you're stuck and you're looking like, oh, like when I was on the Big Island, it's like, okay, there's a Foodland here and there's a KTA. So either one. I think KTA is actually owned by Foodland now, right? But you go there and you go to their deli section. They got all these pokés. You just like, I'll have this poke, get a quarter pound of this, a quarter pound of that. And you guys got some rice, some 2-scoop rice? Okay, perfect. Done. Just go to the car. Beautiful. It's a problem. You have to make it yourself when you're here. Taro or breadfruit pokés. Oh, I am not familiar with that. I will have to try. Who is there a place that sells that I will, next time I go back to Honolulu, I will try that for sure. Seaweed is okay. Yeah, seaweed is definitely okay. Seaweed is like, like I said, there's this particular seaweed that's used a lot called ogo. So it looks like those big twigs, like a twig sticks. Those are perfectly acceptable. And then if you want to put some furikake, that's fine too. Like, we're not going to get upset about that. But when you start putting, I don't know, Thousand Island dressing and Suisun and Hilo has the best poke. Oh man, you know what? I haven't been to Suisun in a long time. Oh no, that's the little Japanese place. I think I went there with my friend when we were there in October 2022. That was my last trip. Little Japanese place, like kind of off, not off, but like on one of the, not even a side street. I can't even describe where it is because I don't know Hilo. I don't go to Hilo that often to know it well enough. But what I really like from the breadfruit is when I was at college, a lot of my friends were Tongan and some Samoans. But the Tongans, they would take the breadfruit, the ulu, and they would, roast it I don't know, I just barely remember how it was made, but I think it was made, they would take the breadfruit and I think they would put it in like aluminum foil with coconut milk. And then they put it like in the imu or on the roast pit and they just let it roast. And I just remember, that was like my favorite thing from the Tongans. I was like, oh, I love this. But I don't even know how to get that. Like, maybe there's some Tongan markets I can go to buy it. I don't know. Anyway, enough. We're back on tangents. Time to go. So interesting. So, you know what it is? It's just weird. To me, it's just different. It's so different than what I'm used to. So I'm still trying to understand it. The milky, the buttery, the little bit of saltiness in the original version. I think it'd be probably better in the wintertime when it's really cold, like you're in the middle of Tibetan winter. You're like, I need something warm, some yak butter, some yak to walk me around. And this would be a little bit more contextual. Well, if you know any place that makes this authentically, like in a way that can be used, that I can use as a reference point, because this, who knows if this is even right? Like this could be totally wrong. Tibetans are probably watching this and like getting angry and, probably giving me thumbs downs and lots of hate. We will find out. Anyway, like I said, we will not have any more live streams this week because I'll be in New Jersey starting tomorrow. If you happen to have the time to come to New Jersey, come join us at the tobacco shop at Ridgewood. In Ridgewood, New Jersey, there is if you go to the community posts here on the onocoffee channel, there is information and a link to the video as well as an address for the location. If you can come join us, we'd love to have you. And come down. We'll have drinks and some giveaways and cigars and all that kind of thing to celebrate the 200th. And I know we passed the 200th episode on this live stream last week, which is kind of nice. A little bit of symmetry there. Kimmy says we would just throw the breadfruit on the open fire, and when the outside was all black, the inside was cooked. Oh, nice. Next time I go back to Honolulu, I'm going to have to try that because I haven't had the breadfruit since 30 years now because I don't really know where to do it or where to get it or how to even do it. But I would love to have it again. I remember it being so tasty, so tasty. Yak jerky. Oh, I like that. I like that idea. As strange as it sounds. All right, well, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you being here. We'll be back again on Monday, 10 a.m. with more coffee Q&A. So if you have any questions, any suggestions for videos, let me know in the comments or drop them on social media. So I hope you have a wonderful time. Mom, I hope to see you tomorrow. I hope you'll make the journey from Queens to have you down. And Peter, Q&A, and everybody, thank you. Devin, always glad to see you guys and happy that you're here. And Q&A, enjoy the coffee festival. Tell those guys I said hello. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time.